And I'm going to just put everybody onto mute, if I can work out how to do that. Oh, good. So if you do want to unmute yourself, I might well sort of just ask for a bit of input from a few of you. Just push a space bar and that will unmute you for a few seconds. And when you let go of the space bar, you will be taken off mute as well. So welcome everybody to our event here on the secrets of selling your business. Now, just to get a little bit of an idea from everybody, let me just share the screen. Has anybody actually been through the process of selling their business so far? It's always good to know what people have done. Anybody that has done that? Anybody bought a business? You actually gone through the process of buying businesses?
I've sold a gym. Well, I sold 2 gyms. But,
yep.
Yeah.
Good. And how was the experience of actually going through that process?
Pretty easy because it was to people that I knew already. So it's fairly straightforward.
Yeah. Good. So if it's done to people you know, that does help. So over the years, I've bought and sold a number of businesses, some quite big, and that was fun in my accountancy days, and get involved with all the due diligence side of things. But the process is actually not that dissimilar to buying a house. Okay, so I presume everyone here has bought a house at some stage. The process is pretty similar to that, as I'll show you. But the intricacies of actually doing it is where I think the fun is, and what we're actually doing. So we're going to be looking at this predominantly from selling. But if you are into buying, then the same is going to apply. You're just going to be seeing things from the other side of the fence. So just to sort of kick off. A little bit about me. For some of you, you've probably not come across me before, but I'm part of ActionCOACH, which is the world's largest business coaching organisation. We're in, I think, 90 countries around the world at the moment. I've been coaching for over 15 years, helping businesses to grow and eventually, to sell their business. And the little picture here is one of what I would call one of my success stories. This lady sold her business for, I forget how many zeros are on the end of it, but there was, I think it was at least 8 zeros, 8, 9 zeros. It took her 15 years to do that, but, is now sort of, living the sort of, I'd say the perfect life. Money doesn't buy you everything, but now has, more choices of what she actually does. So, although I've been coaching for 15 years, I've been an accountant for 20 years sort of before that. So I've got a lot of experience in businesses. In fact, my first experience of buying a business was when I was 11 years old, and my father actually bought a sign company from a man in a pub. And that was one of the reasons I wrote my little book here, was it was based on his story of how he bought this business and how he ran it, and it went through all the problems, this roller coaster we're all on when we're growing our businesses. So if you do want a good little read, I would obviously thoroughly recommend reading my book. Part of ActionCOACH is we've got this proven growth model to actually help you build it. But when we're coming to really focus on selling our business, we've got to look at it in 3 particular ways. The first one, it's a little bit, if you think about building a house. If I came to you and said, build me a house, what you wouldn't do is start laying bricks. Okay, you'd want to know what sort of house you're building, what does it look like, and then you'd put a plan together, and then you'd start building it. And if you wanted to live in it, you'd then live in it, or if you wanted to sell it, you would then sell it. And the same has got to be true with the business. There's a fantastic book, which I don't know if any of you have read, called The E-Myth. by a guy called Michael Gerber. It's one of the sort of top-rated business books out there. And his whole concept was, this entrepreneurial myth that, as business owners, we're all entrepreneurs, and the majority of us aren't entrepreneurs. We are just good at what we do. We want to grow good businesses. We want to have a good lifestyle. But his whole sort of surmise from this was those people that go into building businesses with the mindset that at some stage they will sell it are the ones that build successful businesses. So we want to be thinking about, now it doesn't matter when you're going to sell in next year or in 20 years' time, we should all be thinking about, is our business, are we building it so that we could sell it at some point in the future? So the first thing is we're going to look at planning it. How do we actually plan for what type of business we want to build? And one of the key things from this is going to be, I'm just going to move you out of the way so I can see everybody there. Okay, so to actually, before we even start it, to actually think about what type of business we want to build. What's it going to achieve for us? What are the key goals that we want to have within our businesses? And one of the sort of interesting statistics is, if you think about how many businesses actually last beyond 10 years. So just if anybody wants to, actually we've got the chat box here, so let me just start the chat. So if you don't want to unmute yourself, you just want to sort of chat, then just type in the chat box. I'll put that up there. So just put in the chat box anything that you want to talk about. So if anybody wants to sort of type in the chat box, what percentage of businesses do you think that started this year are going to be here in 15 years time? So have a quick think about that and just type in the chat box, or if you want to unmute yourself and just sort of say
2%.
So 2%, Daryl? So
yes, yeah.
2%, okay, 30%, 20%, Julian, 5%. So everybody's coming in at a reasonably low figure, and you're right. This little graph here was done a few years ago, and it shows that around about 25 to 30% of businesses actually last 15 years. And the scary thing is the drop off here, that over 50% won't even make it to the first 5 years. So one of the reasons of this is a lot of people start businesses with no real plan, no real strategy. We all know if we've started businesses that it's hard work, and a lot of people aren't prepared to do that hard work as they go through, and they sort of run out of energy, run out of cash, run out of ideas. But if you get past those 5 years, the fallout of those people, still another 50% of those people will then not make it to the next 15 years. And these statistics are quite scary, but if you take it to another level, even more detailed level, how many companies do you think actually make it past the £1 million turnover mark? So for all the companies that are started, how many get to, and roughly 10 million, a million is about 10 employees. So 10 people, on the payroll and achieving more than £1 million in turnover. So what, again, just unmute yourself or type in the box, what percentage would actually make it past that £1 million mark?
10%.
About 10%, Darryl?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yeah.
So another low figure.
In what time frame, Kevin? Like in over 5 years, 10 years?
Ever.
Oh,
in their lifetime.
10%? Yeah, I'd say 10%.
10%. Yeah. Julian, 10%. Terry, Dan, 2%. So I did a survey. I pulled out all the data off Companies House a few years ago, and I did this, and I see no reason why it's any different now. And you can see here that no employees and micro businesses, up to 10 people, account for over 95% of limited companies. So 75% of businesses are actually one-man bands, and another 20% have up to 10 employees. So 95% of businesses never make it past the £1 million mark. And while we all know turnover is vanity, profits reality, the reality is, if you're not to a point where you've got more than 10 people, it's very difficult to have a business that can be sold, because you are such an integral part, the owner is such an integral part of that business, that if I'm going to buy the business and the owner doesn't stay on, then all I'm really buying is some customers, and a little bit of IP, intellectual property. And there's really not a lot. So the value, even if you do sell, the value of the business is going to be very, very small. So this is what we're up against. That 80% of businesses will fail, won't even make it to a point where they can be sold. And of those that actually survive that and get to a point, they won't be big enough to actually have any real value to be sold, for the business owner. So what we've got to be thinking is, why do we want to sell? Why do we want to build a business in the first place? What is the key thing for us to actually start our business? That what we call entrepreneurial Caesarship, that moment where you say, I'm fed up with working for somebody else and I want to start my own business. And if we think about this, I think the number one factor most people want to sell their business is an age. They get to a point in their life where they're exhausted. They've worked really, really hard, and they want to, in effect, they want to get out. Job done, time to move on. Now, that's okay, but they've probably lost a lot of energy by that stage. It might be health reasons that they want to get out. They might be in a point where there's nobody in the business that can take it over and actually run it for them. Maybe family members. I know my father wanted me probably to come into the business and take it over for him, but there's no way I was going to work for my dad. I know Darryl and Hannah work really well together, but that is the exception, not the rule. A lot of sort of fathers' sons, fathers' daughters, mothers' sons, daughters, those relationships are tough anyway, and actually running a business can be even harder. And a lot of people just get to a point where the business isn't generating enough money to be able to sell. So all of these reasons, age, health, all of these main reasons why people do sell are down to one real key thing: because they need to get to a point where they have to sell. They're sort of almost forced to sell. Now, if you had a house and you were forced to sell your house, what sort of value would you get for it? Next to nothing. It's going to be a lot less, because you don't have the time, you can't wait, and it's almost, you get to a point that whatever you're going to give me, I'll take it and I'll be on my way. So one of the key strategies, if we flip this for buying businesses, so if you ever want to buy a business, you want to buy from these people. So if you wanted to buy a house at under market value, you need somebody who's almost desperate to sell. They want to get out. Any amount of money is a good enough amount of money. So if we want to buy, we want to buy from these people. If we want to sell, we don't want to be in this situation. We don't want to get to a point where, age, we've been forced to sell because of age. And selling a business can take quite a bit of time. It's not always a quick thing. I had a client last year that we weren't looking to sell, but we had an offer. Somebody came in and said, we want to buy your business. And the process took over 6 months to get to a point where they then decided they didn't want to buy, or we didn't want to sell for the price they were doing. So we didn't even get into the due diligence and the detail. It was 6 months of discussions just about whether they were interested or not. So if we've got any of these situations, we can't afford to wait. And a lot of us know, certainly with what's happened with COVID, that look, health, we never know what's around the corner. So my real sort of belief in this is, no matter where you are in your business, whether you've just started, whether you're 10 years in, it doesn't matter what age you are, you've got to be thinking about an exit. And I've got a couple of clients that are a lot younger. I mean, Hannah's in her 20s still, so. And these guys are thinking about actually selling up by the time they're 35. Okay, but the key thing is that, as I'll show you in a minute, retirement is not when you give up. It's not when you then suddenly, disappear and do nothing for the rest of your life. Retirement is actually something far more simple than that. So why we should sell is because we want to sell. It achieves our goal. What do we actually want to achieve? Now, I have a little formula which I use a lot of time, and I call it the formula for life success. And those people that have been working with me for a number of years, will probably sort of sick to death of me talking about this, but I do because it is so fundamental. You can't see this formula enough. Yeah, it's a simple formula. Be, who do I need to be? My knowledge, attitude, and skills. Do, what do I need to do? And have, which is what is my goal. So of those three things, I'm going to pick on somebody that hasn't sort of seen this before. So Dan, you're in the front of my screen here. If you just unmute yourself. So Dan Compton, because Dan Gateshill, you know the answer for this. Or if you don't, I don't want to embarrass you by asking you. So Dan.
Yeah.
Those three things, we have to have them to be successful in anything. So if you want to be an Olympic athlete, you need these three things. If you want to be successful in business, you need three things. If you want to sell your business, you need these three things. Out of those three, attitude, knowledge, skills, plan, action, and have, which one do you think is the most important to be successful?
Well, I know the one that most people think is the most important one. People always go to the to-do list, don't they? They go into the actions.
Yep.
That's where most people go. And
so do you think most people are right, Dan? Those busy fools?
No, I don't. Getting the attitude and who you need to be, that's a tricky one to work out what that is. It's really tricky to figure out what that is.
Yeah, so
it is the most important one.
We've got to grow as people. So if it's not the do, you think it's the be. Yeah.
Yeah.
What I've found though is if you read the books on successful people and all the sports people that have achieved that, yes, you've got to have the knowledge, attitude, and skills. Yes, you've got to have the do, but fundamentally, the most important thing if you want to be successful is the have. You've got to know what success looks like. So if I'm an Olympic athlete, I go into the Olympics with one goal. What's that one goal, Dan?
Is to get the gold.
To win a medal, to win a gold. So if I don't believe enough that that's my goal, I'm not going to be, and learn and do enough to actually achieve that. Mm. And this is where I find, if you go back to why so few businesses get past 15 years or get to £1 million, is because most of them haven't set that as a goal. And I've got you wanting to come back in. Is that right? I'll admit you anyway. Just make sure you're on mute, because otherwise we'll get nasty feedback. So having that goal is fundamental. So if we want to sell our business, at some point in the future, even if it's a tiny little sort of, and hopefully at the end of today you'll realise that it needs to be a much bigger sort of thought. But even if it's a tiny little speck of an idea, you've really got to work on that have. What is it you want to have as a result of your business? Now, for me, a business gives you three things. It should give you, enjoyment to do something you like doing. There's no point in starting a business having all the stress if you don't enjoy it. It should give you some form of freedom and sort of cash flow and time to do what you want to do while you're running it. And fundamentally, it should help you to actually build your financial freedom. So if we look at this and say, look, there's only one certainty in life, that you're all going to die. I hate to break it to you, but at some point, that's the only thing that I can guarantee is going to happen, that you're going to be in a box. I don't know when that is. Hopefully it's a long time in the future, but we never know when that is. And so COVID has really sort of made a lot of people awaken to the fact that actually it can be sooner than we would like. So the purpose of having this business is at some point in the future, we can have this legacy. You know, we can build something that either can continue after us, we can pass on to the next generation, or can actually give us that, you know, financial status for, you know, our partner, for our kids. You know, even if you're going to leave it to the Battersea Dog Home, it doesn't matter. You've got to decide what that legacy is going to be when you know, on the day that sort of you leave this world. But having a business is not all about working hard until you hit that time, until you drop dead. I know there are people out there that have done that, worked, and there's a lovely little book by a lady. She was a palliative care nurse, and she wrote this really great book on the 5 regrets of the dying. And so she interviewed a number of people that were on their deathbed, and there was a common theme with that. There were 5 common sort of things that people regret not having done, you know, on their deathbed. And one of them was, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. I wish I'd spent more time with my family. You know, wish more time traveling, wish more time doing something else. So what we want to be able to do is, because we've got this great vehicle of a business, we should be able to get to this position that it gets us to a point of financial freedom, you know, as soon as we can. And that to me is retirement. Retirement is not an age. It's not, I'm going to retire when I'm 60. If you think about retirement, you know, does anybody know why the retirement age was set at, I think it was 55, you know, back when it was actually when you could retire and get a state pension, you know, back in the, I think it was the 1950s. Anybody idea?
Expectancy was shorter.
Yeah. So if the retirement age was 55, what was the average life expectancy?
65?
No. Bit lower?
60?
No. Bit lower?
Oh, Bennett, 58?
No. Lower?
56?
Keep going.
Kevin, I give up.
50. So the average life expectancy was 50 and the retirement age was 55. So if you beat the average and you live longer than the average, then the state would give you a pension. Yeah. What's happened is we've got into this amazing world where we can stay alive a lot longer, because I think that probably half of us on this call have actually achieved that already. That we're now, and this is why the retirement age will go up. You know, there's no question it will go up. It's already up to 65. It'll be 67. It'll, by the time Hannah retires, you know, it's probably going to be 75 years that you'll get your pension at that stage.
Oh, lovely.
So this is why we've got to be thinking, you know, we've got to take ownership of this, because we own our own businesses, and set our financial freedom date, not our retirement date. What point do you want to be financially free and have the choices? So this stage we build wealth, and then at this stage we have, you know, we should have the income and be able to enjoy our life. This point here provides us with choices. And so this is not an age, it's an amount, the number. How much money do you need invested in property, businesses, stocks and shares, so pensions, ISAs, you know, property or businesses, that gives you this amount of money so you can actually have the choice in the future of whether you work or whether you don't. And that's the big thing that a business gives you. A business should give you more choice. If you're in a business where you have less choice than you had as a job, then you're doing it wrong. Okay, it's not the way a business should be. A business should be a vehicle to give you more life. It's not a noose around your neck or a millstone around your neck that keeps you slogging away until you're 70. If you choose, if you're financially free and you could stop any time you want and you carry on working, so if you look at Richard Branson, you know, does Richard Branson have to do another day's work tomorrow? Does Bill Gates have to do another day's work tomorrow? No. They were financially free many, many years ago, but they loved the game of business, so they continue to play. But not because they have to, but because they want to. And that's what we've got to be thinking about within our business. You know, what is this financial freedom? So we should have a pension investment strategy. we should have a property strategy. I've just bought an apartment in Spain, you know, for a number of reasons. One is so I can spend the winters out here because it's, I mean, at the moment it's 30 degrees, beautiful sunshine, and it's fantastic. And, you know, this afternoon I'm going to go and play golf on a nice golf course and jump in the pool afterwards. So my, you know, part of my goal is to have my business give me that life. You know, but the other part of it is it's an investment. I'm going to rent it out during the summer, and that will pay for itself over the next 10 years. So when I decide that I want to actually live out here full time, I've got an option. I've got a property portfolio in the UK. I've got pensions that somebody else manages because I can't. It just bores me senseless. You know, and you know, I'm looking at business investments as well. So having the time to be able to do all these three things as well as building a business is really critical. So we've got to build a business that has people working for you, so you can spend time doing these other activities to get you to where you want to be. So if, and I'm looking at this, so if you've got your pensions and your property, but let's say that your business is your key asset to get you to financial freedom. What you've got to understand is how businesses are valued. Okay, so if you haven't bought and sold businesses, and you go to your accountant, and we've got any accountants, I don't think we've got any accountants on the call. I did invite one along, but I'm not sure that they will come along. So we've got to understand how they're valued. Now, if you go to an accountant, they will tell you it's discounted cash flows. It's a multiple of Ebitda. Now, most of us don't even know what Ebitda is. Okay, so Ebitda is earnings before interest, tax, and depreciation. Now, to be honest, where we all are at the moment, unless you're getting into the final valuation, just think about it as being your net profit. Okay, so it's the company's ability to generate cash. So how profitable is your business? So the main goal of a managing director is to generate profit within the business, because profit drives dividends and profit drives value. And if you look at the stock exchange, they will call it a price earnings ratio. So the earnings to the price is the multiple. So basically it's a multiple of profits. And then you add any asset value that is in the business. So if you're a capital rich business, you've got properties, you've got equipment, there'll be a value of those assets. If you're a service-based business, your only asset really is your debtors and your cash. Okay, so but net assets is actually quite a low part of your business, unless you're a property business. What we're really focusing on here is that price earnings ratio. A, we've got to increase profits to as high as they possibly can be, and B, we've got to think about how we influence this multiple. So if I just give you a bit of an indication of what Ebitda is, so if this is our figures here, our revenues, our cost of goods sold, our direct costs, this is our gross profit. Then we've got our overheads down here. SG&A is sales and administration costs. And this gives us an earnings before tax. You basically add the tax and the depreciation back. It's just a way of adding these costs back. Okay. If you want to know more about it, I can give you the insights to it. I wouldn't worry about it. Just think net profit at this stage. Okay. Unless you've got massive depreciation, you've got massive interest payments, then it's really about the cash that your business is going to generate. The one proviso I would say for those that are smaller businesses, and as an owner director, you take your money out as dividends, what you have to take off is the cost of replacing you. So let's say you were making £18,000 Ebitda, and to replace you was £20,000, your actual Ebitda figure would be zero. Okay, because that business only has the ability to generate profit, and if I'm buying your business, I have to replace you, and therefore I make the deduction for that. So if you're paying yourself a dividend, you've got to take that. You've got to think, if I was replacing me, how much would I go in the marketplace and actually pay somebody to do what I do? Now, for most small businesses, there's no way you can replace you, because nobody in their right mind would take your job anyway, because you work far too darn hard. But they won't have enough knowledge of each area. But This is why we've got to build bigger businesses that we can actually get a managing director in to actually run that business in your absence. Okay. Any questions on EBITDA or how that's calculated? Because it is a bit more complicated, but I don't want to worry too much about it at this stage because there's more important things to focus on. No questions? No? Cool. So what is this multiple then? So if we look at the FTSE 100, this is a tracker of the FTSE 100. I think I couldn't find any up-to-date figures, but it doesn't matter because it doesn't change massively. So you can see here the average price earnings ratio or average multiple of a FTSE company, averages around about 17 times. It goes up and goes down depending on the marketplace. I think it's probably quite high at the moment, but it sort of fluctuates around about 15 to 20 times multiple. Now, what that is saying is those companies, those FTSE 100 companies, are going to generate profit for at least 15 years into the future. So if I'm buying that share, that stock, I know that in 15 years' time, I'm going to get enough money back through my dividends and through growth of that business that is going to easily pay for my investment. It's my return on investment. Okay. Now, for big companies, and certainly the unicorn type companies like Uber, I think Just Eat was launched, Tesla, all of those companies, they're in thousands of times multiples. Because their profits are generally quite low because they're gaining market share and they're reinvesting their profits in gaining more and more and more people. If you think about Amazon over the years, it didn't make profit, I think, for 15 to 20 years. Yet it was traded for some astronomical return, price earnings ratio. So this is a market where stocks are bought and sold. It's easy to buy shares in them and then sell them, and that's why you get these big multiples. If we bring this down into an SME market, for most of us, the story is quite different. The average sales value, on a profit basis, is around about 2 to 3 times. So we've got FTSE 100 being traded at 15 plus times and SMEs being traded at 2 to 3 times. Okay, so what this is saying that in an SME company, in a PLC FTSE company, I'm pretty much guaranteed that company is going to be here in 15 years' time. For a small company, I can only really guarantee it's going to be around for a couple of years. And go back to my previous sort of slide of the number of companies that make it past 15 years and those that make it past £1 million, you can see why this number is so low. So that's the average. Now, obviously, averages can be deceptive. So I did this little sort of, and this is purely my gut feel. I've got nothing to sort of really back this up. But my experience is poor companies, so companies that are reliant on the business owner, and I'll show you how we sort of dictate whether they're good, average, or poor later. But poor companies are generally sold for 1 to 2 times their profits. An average company will be around 2 to 3 times. Good companies 4 to 5 times. And if you've got a great company, and ideally if you've got a great company, you're probably selling to a traded company that is already trading a price earnings ratio of 15 plus, you can get 10 times. So the lady I showed you on the first picture, she sold for in excess of 10 times because her business was extremely well run, but she was being bought from a company that was traded at 15 to 20 times on the stock exchange. So let's say she had £1 million. Let's say she had £1 million profit. They paid her 10 million, but as soon as they acquired that business, that increased their business by 20 million. This is why, if you can make your company attractive to these types of businesses, you will get higher multiples. But if we don't start thinking about who's going to buy our business in the future, then we're not going to make these decisions, and it's no good 2 or 3 years away from selling your business, suddenly going, I want to sell it to a PLC. you haven't done the groundwork to get it ready to be attractive to them. So we've got to start with the end in mind for our business. So the first thing we've got to be thinking is, what is the passive income that we want at that retirement date? Okay, so I'm gonna pick on Hannah, because I'm guessing Hannah's one of the youngest in the room. So are you prepared to share your age, Hannah, or just?
Yeah, 26.
26 years old. Already running a multi-million-pound business at 26. So for you, give me an income that you think would be, and you can make this up. You don't have, doesn't have to be the actual number, but give me a number that would be a passive income that, if I could pay you that from now until the end of time, that you could live a really nice, good life.
Oh my God. You mean like as an annual salary, or
an annual income? Yeah. We'll forget tax for this purpose. It's just
don't worry, I wasn't going to include tax.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like the first number that came into my head would probably be, I don't know, 100,000.
100,000. That's a good. We'll just go with 100,000. Okay. So for everybody else, just grab a piece of paper and do this for your number. Okay. I'm going to use Hannah's numbers, but do this for whatever you might be. 200. You might be 50. You might be 20. I don't care what it is, but you need to know what that number is. So just write that number down. So I'm just going to write down for Hannah here. I'm going to have to just move you because you're all in the way. Over here. Okay. So we're going to say this figure here is 100K per annum. Now, I don't know if we've got any financial advisors in the room, but if you were to look for investments to generate you £100,000, the average, and I'm saying this is an average and this is a fairly safe level of investment, is you'd get a return on it or your investment of about 5%. So if you invest in property, you get about 5%. If you're looking at long-term safe stocks and shares, you're looking at about 5%. So have you got a calculator there, Hannah, in front of you?
I have, yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so what I want you to do now is, what you do is you take the figure that you had for your passive income of 100 and you divide that by 0.05 or divide by 5%.
100,000. Yeah.
What's that figure that comes out with?
Divided by 0.5. Is it 200? Am I doing that wrong? Hang on.
Yeah, 100 divided by 5% should be 2 million.
2 million.
Okay, if you want to check it, you do 2 million times 5%, should be 100,000.
Yeah.
Okay, already done their calculation. You'd have to share what it is. Yeah, but 100K, or whatever that number is, divide that by 5%, should be the figure that you need. So you need, from now until you want to be financially free, to build up an asset base, invested asset base of 2 million. Now, the one thing you can't have this is your own home, because your own home doesn't generate income. You can't generate any money. If you've got equity in your house and you want to downsize, then you can actually say, right, well, I've got £1 million house. I only need to live in a £400,000 house. So therefore, at some point, I'm going to have 600,000 of my 2 million through my property strategy.
Yeah.
Okay. So we now know, but if I say this is purely going to come from the business now. So if you've got other assets, you can deduct those from this. But if we're saying that this is the business, we now need to know, if I need 2 million, what level of profits do I need to generate? Because we know that business valuations are done on a multiple of profits. So if you've got a pretty weak company, and you're at 1 times, you're going to need profits of 2 million. Well, that's probably not going to be likely. If you're looking at having a good to great business and go for 4 to 5 times, and I'm going to go for 4 times, then what we need is profits of £250,000. Okay, so you just take this figure and divide by 4 or 5, depending on what you think you could build your business into. I generally go for a bit more of a pessimistic figure of 4. So we now need 250,000 of profits. So in order to generate 250,000 of profits, you need to know how your business works and your numbers. But if you're working on a 10% net profit, okay, which is probably the average, if you're at 20%, it will be half what we're going to come up with. If we say it's 10%, then we need a business of 2.5 million. Now, if you're a partner in your business, okay, and there's two of you, then you need to double this. There needs to be 5 million. Yeah. So by doing this sort of little calculation, what you're starting to do is get your mindset around what you actually need to build. So for Hannah, if she wants to, retire on 2 million, £100,000 a year, she needs to be able to build a business and sell it for at least 2.5 million. Again, I'm ignoring tax for these purposes at the moment. We've still got, that entrepreneur's relief, so tax is only at 10%. But this is all sort of pre-tax, so you'd have to build that in. And if you think about a 2.5 million business, a good way then to come back to is, right, well, how many people do I need to employ to build 2.5 million? Now, if you don't know what it is, your people to turnover ratio, the average is 100K per person. So this business needs 25 people, in order to be a point where I can sell it. But now, we've got a goal of what we want to achieve. I want more than that. If I want 5 million, okay, I've got to have 50 people. If 1 million will do, then it might be 10 to 12 people. So you can see now why you've got to break that £1 million turnover in order to get to these sort of numbers where, and 100,000 a year, at the age of, let's say, Hannah was 35, or 30 by the time that she achieves this, 100,000 a year is a nice income. It's a good income, but it's not an amazing income. She's not going to be flying, first class everywhere. She's not going to be staying in, 6-7-star hotels. She's not going to be driving, a brand new Ferrari every year. So you've got to be thinking about, well, what's a lifestyle you want, and what you're prepared to actually do that. If you want all of those nice things and you've got time, then great, set a bigger goal. But you've got to be thinking of your business in that line, that this is where I'm trying to end up, and therefore my business is my vehicle to get me to where I want to be. Now, some of you will probably look at your business and go, there's no way this business is going to get me there. It's just fundamentally not going to go. Or actually, the thought of actually having a business that employs 25 people just does not float my boat at all. If that's the case, then you need a different vehicle. You've got to have then a property strategy. You've got to have a stocks and shares strategy, or you've got to have other businesses. Find a business that you can build to 25 million, sorry, to 25 people. Okay. You get to choose the game you play. You've all chosen the game that you're playing at the moment, but you can choose at any other time to change. Okay? It won't be easy. I'm not saying any of this is easy, but if you carry on doing what you've always done, you're going to get what you've always got. So we've really got to be thinking about, what we're trying to achieve and how we're actually going to get there. Any questions on this so far? Does that make sense? Everybody done their numbers? Any scary numbers out there? Ross, what are you prepared to share your number? You look like a sort of person that would come up with a big scary number. It's so scary, he's fallen off his chair. So the next question then is, so if that's my number, so if we go back to Hannah, build this business of 2.5 million, 25 people, the next question is then when? When should I sell my business? Okay, when is it going to be ready to actually sell? Now, as I said, this is not about when I'm old, when I'm 60, because there was I came across a guy many years ago, and he was had a travel agency business, and very, very successful. He's making about I think about 250, 300,000 pounds a year. He was in his early 50s. And I talked to him about this. He said, look, I'm 50. I've got another 10 years ahead of me. I really don't want to sort of think about retirement at this stage. You know, my business is earning good money. You know, fine. I'm okay as I am. So fine, good. I left him. That was 2008, early 2008. Phoned him back 18 months later. How's things? You know, oh, well, I forgot to tell you, he'd actually been offered £2 million for his business at the time. He said, 2 million. No, I'm only 50. You know, I think I'll work. You know, I'm not ready to retire yet. You know, 2 million is nice, but you know, I wouldn't know what to do with my time if I sold now. A year later, stock market crash. Yeah, business disappeared overnight. He had £2 million on the table. Yeah, he didn't take it and he lost a lot. At some point in time, somebody, if you do all of this, what I'm going to show you, somebody comes up and says, this is the amount of money I'm willing to pay. If that is the amount of money that is the amount of money you just calculated now, grab it. Okay, take it. Go off, find something else to do. Okay. If you're thinking, oh, I'm too young to do this, yeah, then you've got to understand business is always a risky game. So look what's happened in the last year. Yeah, just imagine you'd been offered £2 million for your business in December 2019, and you went, nah, I'm gonna, you know, business is good, yeah, I'm gonna wait. And then suddenly COVID hits, you know, and if you've taken that money, and I did come across somebody that actually sold in November for, you know, I think it was about 5 million, you know, and I spoke to him in March. I said, you sort of say, you lucky bastard, but there's no luck in it. You know, he was offered it, he took the decision, and he came away, you know, smelling roses. If they then grow that business and sell it in 2 years' time for 10 million, fine, you know. That's not the problem. Yeah, you've got what you wanted out of it. Okay, and then your next chapter of your life with all the choices are going to be there for you. So when is the right time? So if we look at the normal cycle of a business, you know, there's a launch, there's a growth, it gets maturity. Any idea along this line when is the best time to sell? So just a little hands up. Who thinks the best time to sell is here? The maximum value of our, you know, maximum profitability, maximum value of our business. Terry? Yeah? Yeah. Yeah. We've got to wait to that point in time where we've maxed out every single, you know, all those jobs are in, we're right at the peak. Anybody in Terry's camp? So it's only you, Terry. That's probably why you're still in your business. So, no, yeah, selling a business down here, everyone agrees that's not the time to do it, is it? You know, everything's on the decline. Who's going to buy my business if it's here? The time. Oops. I thought I'd actually. Oops. Oh, sorry. Wrong button. Too happy clicking. Yeah. So the time to sell our business, yeah, is not here. And it's not working. Go on. It's not here. It's not here. Yeah, down here is probably too early. You know, I would agree that unless you're on a unicorn business, the time to sell is here. Okay, it's not a point. It's a window. Yeah, a window where you are on an upward trajectory of sales, of profitability. Because if I buy your business here, yeah, I'm looking at the future and thinking, well, I can buy your business and turn it here. If I buy here, yeah, the future is, well, it's going to be, you've maxed it out. I can't add any more value into this business. So there's a window here, and also this point here, you've got no idea when this is. Any time you know when this is when you're here. And you look back and go, oh, shit, I should have sold last year. So we're looking, yeah, and the window for for sale is probably around about 5 years. This window is a 5-year period where your business is in a position where it's attractive, and then the right buyer comes along at the right time. Again, we're selling because we want to, not because we have to. So these people that I come across and say, well, you know, and there's a few people that, you know, I invited along to this workshop, and they said, no, I don't really want to sell my business yet. I said, look, you've got to come along, because you've got to know this stuff now. There's no good waiting to hit to you know, to the end and thinking about it, because that window is a 5-year window, and you don't know when that time is. You know, when that we were approached, you know, in the other company, you know, we weren't looking to sell. That's the time when you will sell your business for the biggest value, when you're not looking to sell, if somebody comes along and says, yeah, you're sort of business I want to buy. So we've got to get through this period here, into this sort of growth, you know, phase, and there's still a big future within this business, because that's when it's going to be the most attractive. That's when you'll get the highest multiple. You know, if I'm here and I can see massive growth, yeah, I'll pay 4 times profits on that, because I know those profits are going to be 3 times higher in 3 years. So my return on investment is going to be that much bigger. So planning it out is so important. You know, what is it I want to get out of my business? What does financial freedom look like to me? What size of business? Is it a £2 million business? Is it a £5 million business? You know, how many people is it going to employ? You know, what area is it going to cover? You know, it's almost like going into the Dragon's Den. If you want to watch Dragon's Den, if you're not going in there with your numbers and showing the dragons that there's a massive upside for this business, why would anybody want to buy it? You know, people don't want to buy businesses that, you know, means that they've just got a job for the next 10 years. I mean, they do buy businesses, you know, but they're generally uneducated people that will only pay 1 or 2 times profit. If you want 4 or 5 times people, you know, you've got to have something tangible to sell, but there's got to be a big upside to it. So how do we actually build this business then? You know, how do we get the multiple? Now, this comes from a book called Value Builders, and I'm not saying these are the only sort of drivers for to increase that multiple, but it's the best I've seen. It's a nice way to actually sort of, you know, talk about sort of these 8 key factors that increase a multiple. So the stronger you can be in each of these 8 areas, the higher that multiple. So that graph I showed you that was good business, average businesses are sort of 3 times, great businesses are 10 times. A great business would max out on all of these key factors. So looking at these, the first one is obviously going to be financial performance. You know, what's the performance of the past and what is the likely performance on the future? So you've got to have, number one, strong numbers. You know, you cannot go into selling a business if your numbers are not up to date, you don't have an accountancy system, you're not running budgets, you don't have KPIs, you know, and all of those things. You know, you can't even run your own business without those. So I'm taking that for granted that you've actually got control of your numbers. So you've got to have this growth potential within your business. There's got to be a position where if I bought your business today, I can see how I could double, triple, quadruple your profits. And the way I'm looking for that, and this is one of the reasons I joined ActionCOACH, was because fundamentally it comes down to 5 key things that drive profit. Yeah, you've got to have the ability to generate more leads. So your marketing has got to be really up there, and you've got to be generating leads on a regular basis. Your conversion, your sales strategies have got to be really top notch. Your sales team have got to be firing on all cylinders. You've got to have a really good, you know, website, conversion, you know, however you bring your business in has got to be up there. But it's no good just getting new customers in. You've also got to be working your existing client base. Yeah, are you getting your clients to come back day in, day out? Are they staying with you? Are they spending more money with you on a regular basis? Those 4 factors drive your turnover, your revenues. So if I can't see this in your business, if you're not really doing this, I'm not going to pay much for you. And a lot of people get confused. Oh, my business has got loads of potential. If you buy my business, you can take it to double, triple. Yeah, I can do that because I know how to do it. I'm not going to pay you for the privilege of me doing all the work. You've got to show me you've done that work already, and put these things in place. And then you've got to make margin. Okay, you've got to have a profitable business. You've got to know your cost of sales. You've got to break your services and your product offerings and know the profitability at every single line. Yeah, you've got to be working your debtors. You've got to be working your stock turn if you're into stock. Okay, if you're not on top of all of these, yeah, then that multiple is going to go down. And within ActionCOACH, we've got over 300 strategies in each of these. We've got 73. We've got strategies in every single one. So you've got to be demonstrating to the buyer, look, we are on the marketing. Our sales conversion is best in industry. Our client retention is second to none. Yeah, and we get every single penny that we possibly can out of our client base, and our clients love us. They're all raving fans, and we are as efficient as we possibly can be in every single area. If you can't demonstrate that, you can have a much, much lower multiple. So if I just show you a quick example, I'm not going to go through much detail on this, but a small typical business, 4,000 leads, 25% conversion rate. 1,000 customers, they buy on average twice a year, £100 spend, 200,000 turnover, 25% margin. Let's say our starting point of our business is 50,000. If I just focus on growth, on marginal gains in each of these 5 areas and look to grow by 10%, so if I take my leads to 4,400, conversion rate to 27.5%, Julian, what would my customers therefore be if I'm growing everything by 10%? Oh, just take yourself off mute. You're still on mute. Push your space bar. Oh, it doesn't work. Oh, it did then. Oh, no.
Hold it down. I've got it now. Sorry.
Hold it down. Yeah.
10 million. No, it's 10% of that.
10% of that.
Yeah.
So 1,100?
Yeah.
Yeah, no. It's 10% on 10%. So that's a 20% increase. Number of customers, average transaction value, 46% increase. Margins, 61% increase. And if we do that year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, we can see now that we can take this little £200,000, 50,000 profit business to one that's turning over 1.3, making £500,000. Times that by 4 times, there's our £2 million sale value. Okay, but we need to show that we've started that journey for a prospective buyer, but at some point along here, to be able to then say, right, now you take over what we started, you carry on doing that, and you're going to make more money. That's when you'll get the maximum multiple. So the next area then is what we call, it's a bizarre, I don't know why I call this, but he called it the Switzerland model. It's basically the independence. So your business needs to be independent on any key suppliers or key customers. If your business was 100% selling to one of my businesses that I used to work in, our biggest customer, 90% of our sales went to Sainsbury's. Okay, J Sainsbury's bought 90% of our goods. We were £4 million business at the time. We employed 50 people. Okay, going, doing really, really well. Fantastic business. On paper, let's say we were making 200,000. Your customers, Sainsbury's, fantastic. That profit's going to be there for the next 5 years. So there you go, 200,000 times 5. There's at least £1 million. I'd pay you for that business. Yeah, that's what you'd think. The problem with that is what? Terry, what's the problem with that model? Just hold your space bar down. Oh, no. Oh, yeah, that's it.
But it didn't work.
Okay.
Yeah, I would be very unhappy if I had more than 20% of customer.
Excellent. So the reason is you're too reliant on that customer.
Yeah,
on one
and
customer.
They could go away, they could fold, they could whatever.
Exactly. 4 years into building this business, £4 million business, Sainsbury's decided to do supply rationalisation, and we lost the entire contract, and the business was not there anymore. Okay, so if you're too reliant on one customer, you need to widen and get more customers in. If you've got one supplier who could switch the tap off, you need to widen your supplier base. If you're reliant on any one person, and that number one person is you, and I'll come back to that later, but if you've got key employees who could leave and take all your customers with you, then you're not going to get a maximum value for it. And that's why you need a bigger team, because you've got to get it so the business doesn't rely on you, but doesn't rely on any person, specifically. Another stupid name, teeter-totter. I don't know where they get these bloody names from, but basically cash flow. If your business needs a lot of working capital, it's cash hungry, then your value goes down. If it doesn't need much capital, so if your debtors pay on time, if you can run on very lean stocked turns, if it doesn't need massive investment in capital equipment, then you're going to get a higher value. These are why the unicorns, these online businesses, get such good multiples, because there's nothing they really have to invest in. They're not holding stock. Uber doesn't hold stock. Apple doesn't hold music. These get massive valuations because their working capital is very low. So again, you've got to understand your balance sheet. You've got to understand all your numbers within your balance sheet to understand how your business is actually run. You've got to have a recurring revenue. You've got to have business clients coming back. We use a thing called the ladder of loyalty. If you're only dealing with shoppers who buy from you once and you never see again, you're constantly having to fill the bathtub with the plug left out. So we've got to have what we call a raving fan strategy. And I know Hannah and Dowell have worked really hard on this, to create people that are like glue. There's no way they'd go anywhere else. They shout about you. They are your marketing machine. Okay, the more you've got that social media presence and people love you, the more valuable your business. That's why Apple is such a highly rated business, why Amazon is such a highly rated business, because people keep going back to those companies. So they don't have to keep remarketing, they don't have to keep refilling the bathtub. Monopoly control. So if you can dominate a marketplace, and this is really about your niche. So if you can dominate a marketplace and you can compete not on price, but on service, on quality, whatever it might be, then you're going to get a higher value. Okay, so you get higher margins, you get more return on your investment. And if we look at sort of some companies that have managed to do this, Apple is a sort of a sexy brand. If you're looking in PCs, Dell has dominated the business sort of direct market. HP is all about innovation, new products. Panasonic have built their brand around toughness, their tough book. So these are all companies that are within one market, but they've clearly defined their niche and they're playing to that smaller audience. If you try and be all things to all people, you're nothing to anybody. So take your brand, really position it well, get that loyal following, and dominate in the market you place. The more dominant, because if you can dominate, and certainly if you can dominate and start annoying those bigger companies, they're going to buy you up, because they're going to come fed up with you taking our market share. Look, there's 10 times multiple. We'll just get you out of the game. Okay, so having your clearly defined niche is really, really key. Then you've got to look at your customer satisfaction. How happy are your customers? Now, there's a thing called Net Promoter Score. I don't know if anybody's sort of seen that before. It's a way of having an independent survey to actually work out how satisfied your customers are. So, brands with a Net Promoter Score 0 to 49, TripAdvisor, so surprised me a little bit. Walgreens, because it's a bit of American. Apple sits in that 50 to 69, and YouTube, 70 plus. I'm actually pleased to say that ActionCOACH is actually up there with Amazon. We've got one of the highest Net Promoter Scores of certainly any consultancy business that's trading at the moment. And that's because we work really hard to keep our clients really happy and actually drive them forwards. So you'll know a little bit. You don't have to do the survey, but if you want to get maximum value, if you can go to a buyer and say, look, we've got a Net Promoter Score up there with the best in class, then that's going to really push your value up. And the last one really is, I think, the most important. If your business is if you are a key player in your business, if you have to turn up at work on a Monday and you have to stay there till Friday, if you are the main conduit to your suppliers, your customers, and your team, then your value is going to be low. Because if I'm going to buy your business, I'm going to have to think, if I was buying Terry's business and he was in this sort of, the hub of the business, and he then said, well, I want £2 million and I'm going to bugger off, and join Kevin in the sunshine. I'm going to go, geez, if I haven't got Terry, I don't know how to run this business. And the best case scenario, I might give you that, but I'm going to tie you into a 3-year earnout. You're going to have to stay working for me for the next 3 years. Now, Terry, how do you feel about working for somebody else who's just bought your company for the next 3 years?
No, but I've already taken steps to have a guy to replace me. He's been with me 3 years.
Brilliant. And that's what we need to do. We need to be bringing our team up, to actually take on the responsibilities and actually reduce the number of hours that we work. If we are one of the hardest working people in our business, that's fine when you're building it. But if you're looking to sell it, if that's the case, you're going to destroy the value in your business. You've got to be the laziest person in your business. You've got to be off playing golf 5 times a week. You've got to be whining and dying your key clients. You still need to be doing the strategic work, but perception must be your business could run without you for a month, for 6 months, and it would still be in the same form. That's when you'd get the maximum value. But the real fact is, valuations are really based on what somebody's going to pay for it. So this is often about timing. It's having that window that's wide enough that the time is right for you to sell and for them to buy. And I say the best factor is when you're not looking to sell and somebody knocks on your door. That's when you'll always get the best value. So the company I said that we built to 4 million, then it reduced down to sort of next to nothing. We rebuilt that over the next 4 years. And we weren't looking to sell, and somebody knocked at our door and offered us 2 million quid. And the guys said, great, that's what they wanted, 1 million quid each. And they took the money, and one unfortunately invested it in other things and it didn't work. The other one now is he does consultancy work, but he picks and chooses what he does. But financially he's sorted, his family's sorted now, for the rest of their lives. So when you do get that offer, a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush. You've got to know when to take it. And as I said, if it's that number that you've written down when we did that little exercise, then I would say make a note of that, put it in an envelope, stick it in the drawer, and when somebody comes along and offers you an amount of money, open it up and look at it. And if it's more than that amount of money, take it and run for the hills. Okay, don't sit there thinking, oh yeah, but it's on the up and I could make a little bit more in a year's time. There's too much risk in this. If it gives you the lifestyle that you want, that's what life is all about. You could drop dead tomorrow. And too many, and and the one thing is you can't take it with you. Okay, your kids will be happy, but you know, the best thing to do is you want to be enjoying the life that it allows you to achieve. So the next thing you've got to be thinking about, you know, so you've got to have the plan to build it. So you've got to be working on how we're going to build that multi-million-pound business. The next thing is, who's going to buy my business? Now, there's a number of people you can sell it to. You could sell it to your family. That's good if you want a legacy, you know, and then you trust your family enough to keep you in your retirement. The problem with family is they generally don't have much money. Okay, so they're unlikely to pay you enough money for you to retire. But I know a number of family businesses where, you know, mum, dad have sold the business. They now live overseas, and the company continue. You know, son runs the company and continue to pay them, I think, yeah, 100, 200,000 pound dividend every year. The problem with that is, for son, is he's now got this bloody noose around his neck that every year his profits are reduced by 200,000 because he's keeping mum and dad alive. Now, he's obviously loyal, and therefore he'll continue to do that, but wouldn't he rather have that 200,000 for himself and his family? So it can cause some tension within families, and that whole adage of first generation build it or start it, second generation build it, third generation destroy it is so true. You know, the company that I work with, they were fourth generation. You know, third generation, their father and his siblings completely destroyed one of the largest and most profitable horticultural businesses in England, because they were there because of birthright, not because of skill. Yeah, if you are going to employ family or get family in your business, they're there on merit, not because they're related to you. Yeah, if you employ, you know, and I've seen sons and daughters working in businesses that they hate because they feel obliged to not let their parents down. That's why I could never work for my dad, because, you know, I would have been, yeah, I'd felt obliged. I was working because of him, not because what I want to do. You know, give them, if they want to come in and run it and take it on and do something with it, fantastic. But if they do, get out of their way. You know, I had one company I worked with, son ran it, very successful business. Dad lived in the Isle of Wight. Yeah, sorry, not the Isle of Wight, the Isle of Man. He'd fly in his helicopter, yeah, once a week, come in and completely undermine everything this guy had done during the week. Everything. And I tried to coach him to actually sack his dad, but he couldn't do it. And he said, I just got to put up with this, haven't I? I said, well, if you're not going to grow some balls and do something about it, then yes. You know, and as far as I'm aware, he's still, you know, dad still flies in, still undermines it. I mean, the business is very successful and profitable, but where's the fun in that? You might want to do a management buyout and sell to your management team. I know, Julian, you know, you're part of a management team that are looking to actually do this. Okay, but again, are they the right people? You know, they generally they've got the right culture, but you're going to have to upskill them. So, you know, Clive is the owner, you know, has put Julian on my courses to actually upskill him, upskill the team. So they're in a position to actually take that business over when, you know, the time is right. You might look to sell to a customer. You know, a customer might be looking for a bit of vertical integration. You might sell to a supplier, somebody who wants to get into your marketplace. It might be a competitor. The competitors are always good. I love selling to competitors, okay, because they'll generally pay good money for you. Or you might look in for an actual investor. It might be an attractive one for, you know, business angels, you know, venture capitalists. But they are looking for very specific types of business. You know, venture capitalists are looking for at least a 5 times return on investment. So if I'm going to buy your business, if I can't grow it by 5 times in the next 5 years, I'm not even going to be interested. Because what they do is they buy from you for 3-4 times, and then they sell to the PLCs for 10 times. That's their model. So if you're not building your business that's attractive to an investor, a competitor, a supplier, a customer, yeah, then you're going to minimize the number of people that are going to want to buy from you, and you're not going to maximize your value. So again, you know, we're building this not only with a view to what type of business I'm building, but who's likely to buy me? You know, where's it going to go? Now, this again, takes 5, 10, 20 years to do this. You can't just do this right at the end and say, right, I want to be out in 2 years and suddenly get all this done. You don't have enough time. And that's why, you know, the starting point really is the day you start your business. Yeah. But if you're already in your business, the day is now, and be looking 5 to 10 years ahead. The reason some deals fail is, you know, a multiple. So the one that we had last year, you know, that took 6 months and it didn't come to anything. The majority of deals, you know, will fail. When we're looking, you know, I'm actively buying for a client at the moment, or helping them to buy. You know, we've probably done 4 offers so far. Yeah, none of them have come off. Okay, so when you get that deal, you know, you've got to go in it pragmatically, thinking, you know, this won't work. If you're all excited about, oh yeah, I've got somebody who wants to buy my business and excited, then that emotion is going to kick in, and that emotion is going to really jeopardize you. Because if you've already spent the money, yeah, then what happens is, and the normal process is, I'm buying a business, I come in at 2 million, and then my job is to knock you down to 1 million. Okay, if you've already spent the money, then you'll go, oh yeah, well, 1 million's better than 2 million, and you'll start to accept something that you shouldn't be accepting. Certainly if you need to sell, you know, if that's where it needs base is. So sometimes, you know, they fail because there's legal issues. You know, you don't have contracts with suppliers, you don't have contracts with customers, you don't have contracts with your team. You know, your team, if you don't have non-compete clauses, you know, that, you know, are legally binding, your team could just disappear. You know, what am I actually buying? There's no proof of results. You show some accounts, you know, that show one thing. You know, I've got a set of accounts from somebody that I looked at and I compared it to Company's House, and they weren't the same. Hang on a minute, you know, which are the right numbers? So now my trust has gone down and my suspicion's gone up and my value is going to hit the floor. Emotions kick in. You know, it becomes an emotional, you're buying my baby. You know, you've got to get over this fact, your business is not your baby. You know, your business is your vehicle to get you to where you want to be. Now, I know you've got loyalty to team and you want to look after the team and the culture. That's fine. But, you know, there's not one of your team members won't put 2 fingers up to you, yeah, if something better comes up. If it suits them, you know, their loyalty to you will be, you know, down on the floor. So be careful where your emotions start ruling your decisions. You know, buying a business should be non-emotional. Selling a business should be non-emotional. When we're buying, we are looking. We're trying to find the emotion. So whenever you're buying, you want to sell from an emotional person. Yeah, but it's no different to selling or buying a house. When I'm buying a house, I want to be non-emotional. So when I'm selling, I want to be non-emotional. When I'm buying, I want to find that seller who really wants to sell, because then I know I've got some leverage. Poor communication. So, you know, when you're looking to sell, keep the communication going. As soon as communication stops, generally it means the party's not interested. Yeah, if you're having to chase somebody, you know, who's made an offer, then it's a bit like going on a date. You know, if you've gone on a date and you phone that person 3 times and they're not taking your call, generally it's a nice, polite way of saying I'm not really interested in you. And often, I think one of the biggest reasons certainly SMEs come in is that their price expectation is unrealistic. You know, I want £1 million because, you know, that's the number I want. If your numbers, if your business does not back up the valuation, then don't expect to get it. You know, we had one the other day, you know, it was a business, it was not going anywhere. The guy wanted £1 million. The best we could come up with was £500,000. I said, look, your business is not worth £1 million. Oh, yes, it's worth £1 million. I think, what? How do you calculate that? Oh, because it's worth £1 million. No, how do you where's your numbers to show it's worth £1 million? Oh, yeah, but it's worth £1 million. Okay, you're never going to sell your business if you go into it with that attitude. Okay, you've got to be able to prove it. I can prove my multiple. Here's why my multiple is 5 times. Here's my proof that my profit is this amount of money and it's consistent. So the ways people will try, and this is, again, if I'm buying, this is what I would use in my buying strategy. I would always sort of say, right, I reduce your profits by replacing you. So if you're very valuable, I'm going to knock 100,000 off your profit straight away. I'm going to look at your stock and debtors and go, actually, you've got £1 million of stock, but £500,000 of it is worthless. Yeah, your debtors, half of them are over 30 days. They're probably not going to pay. Therefore, I'm going to reduce it. Your assets, none of them are worth it. I'm going to reduce your asset value. Okay. You don't have contracts, terms and conditions. Yeah. So your customers could just disappear. So I'm going to reduce the value. Poor relationships with customers. Yeah. I've had a wander around the factory and, all your people are demotivated. They've got no idea why they're here. Yeah. They're actually all just plodding along. I'm looking for signs that this isn't what you've sold it to me on. And then I'll start to chip away at that, either the profit or that multiple. Okay, and again, if it's an emotional sale, then I know I'm going to win this, because at the end of the day, you just want an amount of money. You might say you want $1 million, but actually $500,000 is probably what you'll put up with, and then that'll be you sort of gone into the sunset. And now I've got a nice business that I can do put my magic into and turn it into something really great. So if you want to speed up a sale, you've got to be ready. Okay, so that 5-year window, you've got to be ready in that 5-year window. You've got to be realistic and you've got to be flexible. If you're just sitting there going, I want £1 million of cash in my back pocket, you are going to minimize the number of people that are going to pay, because there's always a risk within an SME. Trading business is not a problem. SMEs, there's always a risk. So you've got to be flexible with your view of how you're going to sell. And that really comes down to, if you're going to take cash, accept less, but make sure you get out. No tie-ins. If you want my business, I want £1 million for my business, but if it's cash, I'll take $500,000 and I'm gone. Okay, if you want that deal, great. So have what you'd love to have, but also my minimum value is this, and have that ability cash and go in your mind. If you work on an earn out and say, look, I know my business can make £250,000 a year, and I'm so sure that it will, then pay me the £1 million out over the next 3 years. You can pay me out of the profits that it makes. Okay, it works for you because it's more tax advantageous than taking it out as dividends. It gives that person time to sort of get in and start to work their magic. So if they've got great potential, great plans for your business, then it probably works in your favor, because they could actually increase your profits, and you'll actually get more than you would have done if you'd done a cash and go. Be open to a finance out. So some of you have got assets in the business, stock assets, and if I'm going to buy your business, I need to find the cash, and I might not have all the cash up front. So I might look to actually come in, leverage your business through a bit of debt and pay you out of that money. This is what the Glazers did with Manchester United. I remember when they bought Manchester United. I don't know how much they paid for it, 10 billion or something. But then they basically mortgaged the stadium, they sold assets, and they actually paid the owners out through the assets in the business. Be careful with it. You've got to understand it. But if people sort of say that that's the way they'd like to do it, be open with it. You've got to understand what they're trying to do, but it's a way you can actually get more out and get the deal done quicker. And be prepared to do what we call a vendor finance, which is a bit like these, but you can buy my business over the next 3 years. Okay. The perfect one is cash and go if it's the right amount of money. but you've got to be open to and understand there are other ways to buy a business. If you're just going, I only want cash, then you're going to really limit the number of people that you're going to actually appeal to. The other thing is, in the back of your mind, always get good tax advice with this. Don't agree to anything unless you go through your accountant. There are ways now that you create group structures. So you put your company into a group that allows this to happen. If anybody needs some advice, I've got some very good accountants that I work with to set this up for you. Again, it needs to be done well in advance of doing it. You can't suddenly set a group structure up the day before you sell it, because the Inland Revenue will go, you're looking at tax avoidance, and they'll come down, like a ton of bricks. Yeah. So entrepreneurs relief at the moment, I'd still believe is 10% up to your first 10 million. Now, for most of you, 10 million will be fine. Thank you very much. There's an option to buy assets and shares. So each has more advantages to one party, disadvantage to the other. So you've got to know what those balances are. You can pull out directors' loans. So pull out money that you've actually lent to the company. And you can pull out through retained cash and dividend. And as I think I said, a holding company structure. So again, you talk to your accountant, look at ways to do this well in advance of it actually happening. Go to your accountant, look, I want to sell my business in 5-10 years' time. I want to make sure I'm maximising my tax position. Now, taxes change all the time. There was a bit of a scare last year that entrepreneurs relief was going to be cut dramatically. Thankfully, it didn't, but it's always going to be on the agenda. And that's why I say, if you get the chance now to sell for millions and you're only going to pay 10% tax on it, take the money and run. Because, if a Labour government come in, you'll be paying 50%. So you need a good accountant on that. And so if you need recommendations, I'm more than happy to recommend, some that, understand this, most accountants will do your books, but they don't understand high-level tax strategies. But after all of this, you've got to understand the biggest barrier to sale is actually you. The reason why most businesses fail is because you won't let go. You don't have anything alternative. Your life, your identity is your business. If you don't come into work on a Monday, you've got to stay at home, with your wife or your husband. And it's scary, but some people feel that as, I don't want to do that. What are we going to talk about all day? What will we do all day? What will I actually do with my time? We've got one client at the moment, his dad won't retire, because he doesn't want to go home and spend time at home. His identity is about being at work. If that's you, you've got to go and find some more hobbies. Come play. I'm starting a golf group that meets once a month on a Thursday. Come and play more golf. Go on holidays. Plan your 101 things you want to do before you die. Have a bucket list. If you want to watch a really good film, The Bucket List, Morgan Freeman, fantastic film, just really reinforces that fact that life is short. You are your company's relations. Some people think it gives me status, my position in society. I am a business owner. Fantastic. Great. But wouldn't you rather be an investor? I'm an investor. I invest in stocks and shares. I invest in other businesses. I'm financially free. That's a far better status for me than being a business owner. And as we've said, you are the business and unrealistic price expectations. But one of the other factors is, you're actually, you're actually working too hard in your business to spend any time on this. And that's why, my clients, I'm working with is getting them out of their business, focus working on the business on a regular basis. So we've got a 90-day plan every quarter on each of those areas of the business to actually focus on, so that we're actually working towards this. Because if we don't plan for it, then, fail to plan, plan to fail. So just remember, retirement is a financial position. It's not an age. It's where you have choice. Yeah. And the key to me is, why wait any longer than you have to? My father worked, really hard, 15 years in his business, the sign company, 55 years old. The business went through a really bad patch back in the 92 recession. Business went pop. Luckily, he'd invested in a small holding, his house, and he was able to downsize, but that was more by luck than judgment. It wasn't a strategy. It was just through the 80s and the 90s, property values went up and he had some equity. He was 65 and a half when he died, 6 months before he was due to pull out his state pension. Life is short. Yeah. Why wait until you're 50, 60, 70 before you have these choices? Hannah, 26 years old, could be in a position by the time she's 30 to be financially free. And then the rest of your life is playing a game. You've got your assets, you've got your income, then you can start playing. And that's when you really start to enjoy business. Retirement is not when you give up. Retirement is then when you're free to do whatever you want to do. Take a year off if you want to. Go and buy businesses, invest in businesses. Play with the business. At the moment, if your business is your number one asset, it's very difficult to play with it, because if it fails, you've got nothing. But if you're financially free and you play with it, if it goes, fine, I'll just start another one. So this is part of why I got into coaching. Part of it was this book, my father's journey, the fact that he had nobody to talk to. Nobody was advising him for those 15 years that he slogged his guts out to build this business, and then suddenly it all to disappear. No one gave him this advice. No one showed him how to do it. No one was there to support him to do it. And when shit happened, no one was there to actually help him. All I got was a phone call. One day says, "Kevin, I'm really sorry, but I'm having to wind the business up." And by that time, it was too late. I tried, I got some people I knew to come in and try and save the business. The best we did was we saved his house, because he had personal guarantees. So we managed to get it so at least he came away with a house. I just wish that I'd known now what I know, or known then what I know now, and I could have actually helped him build a business that he could have sold. And perhaps even if it was like that, I would have gone and worked for him. But he basically bought himself a job, worked for 15 years, and it nearly killed him. So I want to work with people that want to be on this journey, want to build these great businesses to be able to sell, to help you formulate your plan, to educate you and the team, because it's not just about you. You can't build a multi-million-pound business on your own. You build it through the people that work with you. Help you implement that plan, give you that support, accountability, keep you focused. As a business owner, you're wearing so many hats. Yeah, sometimes it's difficult to know what you should be focused on, and having an outside person can really help with that. And when it comes to actually selling, actually help you with the negotiations. Keep that emotion out of things. Get the business that we're actually giving the right information across. And also, if you're buying, then to actually do the same. So I know a number of you are actually already clients working with you. If you are interested, in seeing how we could work together, I will always, if you know anybody, or if you want a quick valuation of your business, I'm quite happy to do that for free. Just, it won't be a final one, but it'll give you an indication of the sort of multiple that I think you'd get, and a calculation of what the profits will be, and we'll work that out for you. If you haven't done your financial freedom figure now, or you want to review it, I'm happy to do that with you. And we can then look at the potential for the business of what it could actually achieve in the future. And if you do that and you feel, yeah, you'd like my help, then I can find you a coaching program to help you on that. But the big thing is, today's the first day of the rest of your life. Yeah. What you've got to do is start thinking about what that looks like. What life do you want to live? Yeah. Business is just a part of it. Your business is a vehicle to get you from A to B. But if you don't know what B is, yeah, then you're going to be driving around in circles for a long, long time. So please, thank you very much for coming along. It's been great. Thanks for those people that have participated. If there's anything from here that, well, if you do need to shoot, I know I've run over a few minutes, but if you do have any questions, please stay on. I'm quite happy to answer those. If you do want to grab me afterwards, ping me an email. This is recorded, so if you want a recording, just I'll probably send, because we've got a few people that haven't been able to make it, I'll send you all the recording probably over the weekend or early next week, so you can go back and review any sections you want. But otherwise, I wish you well on your journeys. Hope you get there, and when you do, please drop me an email from your sunny beach and say, thanks, Kevin. That seminar really helped me on my journey. So thank you very much, and have a super weekend.
Thanks, Kevin. It's been really good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin.
Cool. Take care.